This is my 12-gallon guppy tank, and I wanted to publish a quick video going over my guppy tank maintenance routine. I have recently changed the tank, but a few months back when I recorded these clips it contained 6 male guppies, my yellow Neocaridina shrimp colony, some Amano shrimp and a couple of Nerite snails. As you can see from this view, the plants are overgrown and they definitely need a trim. I start the process by checking the water parameters of the tank, and the ammonia, nitrite and nitrate are all within parameters, so there's no need for a large water change. If you have Salvinia in your tank, then the leaves will be smaller than usual if there is less nitrate and ammonium in the water column, giving you a rough idea of the water parameters if you don't have access to a test kit. Speaking of Salvinia, I always like to check the underside of the plant before removing it because my shrimp do like to graze on it. This is why I like to tap the plant a couple of times to move the shrimp on, and then I'll remove the excess growth. The Rotala Rotundifolia in this tank hadn't been cut for around 6 weeks at the time of recording, so it definitely needs a trim. If you're on the aquascaping side of the hobby, you might want to cut the stems low to encourage bushy growth coming in from your Rotala. This is more of a practical tank, so I just cut the excess back a couple of inches so there's more space for the guppies to swim around in the tank. If needed, you can replant the stems of your Rotala Rotundifolia into the substrate to get more plants, and I'll actually be using all of these Rotala stems for my 40-gallon tank. I actually forgot how much Rotala I did put into this 12-gallon tank, but it took around 5 minutes to trim it all back to levels that I was happy with. With the Rotala dealt with, I moved on to the Bacopa Caroliniana, a far slower grown stem plant, and I usually only trim this around once every couple of months. Just like the Rotala, I also keep the excess trimmings of the Bacopa Caroliniana for my Wallstad cherry shrimp tank that I was building around the same time. This is how much plant matter I removed from the tank, but as you can see, it really did need a trim. For some reason, moss always ends up in this corner of the tank, and I really can't work out why. If I remove it, it's back there the next day and I have no idea what's putting it there. With the plants trimmed back, I do decide to do a partial water change, mainly to manage the TDS and GH for my yellow Neocaridina shrimp rather than to manage water parameters for the guppies. I do keep my backup box filter in this tank that I use for my quarantine tanks with new fish, but it's really low maintenance and usually I just wash the little layer of sponge at the top and it's good to go. This All Pond Solutions HOB 500 is the primary filter for this aquarium, so I quickly check it over, and I usually do this once a month at most because it does well in this tank and rarely clogs. I remove the filter and take the aftermarket pre-filter off the filter intake and squeeze it out into a bucket of the old tank water because that's what I have handy. You can see how much gunk actually gets trapped by this cheap pre-funge filter, and you can usually get 6 of these cheap on Amazon, so it's well worth picking up because all of this gunk would have ended up inside of the filter and increased the chance of it clogging. I did have a quick look at the media inside the filter, but everything seemed fine, so I put it back together and reseated it onto the tank. I fill a bucket with tap water and do my best to temperature match it to the 25 degrees Celsius that the current aquarium water is running at. I use a pipette to add some tap water conditioner to the bucket to deal with anything that may cause issues, and check that I have the diffuser on the end of my siphon ready to refill the tank with water. My shrimp are already freaking out in this clip because of the amount of plant cover that I've removed from the tank, but I have found that when I have the diffuser on the siphon, it seems to scare my shrimp less. I'm not 100% sure what causes this, but I'd guess it's due to the diffuser reducing the amount of water flow coming into the new tank all at once. Once the tank's full, I check the water temperature to make sure that it's as close to the original water temperature of the aquarium as possible, and everything seems good. I remove the mineral residue from the front pane of the tank, but this will be filthy again within days, so I often skip this step. There's still a few leaves left over from the plant trimming, so I manually remove as many of these as possible, but they will decay over the coming days and my shrimp colonies will eat them. I remount the floating plant ring to make sure that the Rotala stem plants on the other side of the tank don't have their light source blocked by the floating Salvinia plants. I have a bunch of different algae scrapers, but these cheap magnetized ones always seem to perform the best for me. It doesn't take long to remove the algae buildup from the front pane of glass, but I just leave the back and sides because my snails and shrimp will often eat on that algae. This is the tank at the end of the cleaning process, and I know that the stem plants look a little rough, but they will grow in over the coming week or two. I'll be reusing all of the stem plants I removed during this maintenance, otherwise I would add them to a compost bin or let them dry out before putting them in a regular bin. Anyway guys, that brings the video to a close. Thanks for watching, hopefully it was helpful. Have a good day.